The views expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sun Prairie Media Center staff, its video service providers, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello and welcome to this special Sun Prairie Media Center program on the upcoming City of Sun Prairie April 2026 referendum. I'm Steve Sabatke. The Sun Prairie City Council voted recently to place a referendum question on the April 7th ballot. Voters will be asked to decide whether they support a $3.95 million increase in the city's annual property tax levy to improve public safety services while also maintaining the city's existing services and programs. If the referendum is approved, the additional funding would allow the city to hire 3 additional police, public safety personnel, including 2 firefighters, as well as provide for an increase in wages for part-time volunteer firefighters. With me to talk more about this, about the referendum's impact on the Sun Prairie Fire Department, is Sun Prairie Fire and EMS Chief Chris Garrison and Sun Prairie Firefighter EMT Jackson Wells. Gentlemen, thanks for doing this, for being here.
Well, sir, thank you for this opportunity because I'll be honest with you, I'm very excited about this opportunity and very excited to educate the public on why we need 2 firefighters.
Okay, so I want to get to that because that's the heart of the matter.
Absolutely.
But for those that may not know who you are, let's just give some brief introductions to each one of you. Chief Garrison, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
All right, my name is Christopher Garrison. I am the current fire chief here in Sun Prairie, fire and EMS chief. I've been in the fire chief's position I'm in my 11th year. I came here from the Chicagoland area where I spent 22 years at Lake Forest Fire Department, retiring from that department as the deputy fire chief. My career actually started back in 1989 in Libertyville, Illinois, where I was a volunteer firefighter. I do live here in Sun Prairie. I'm sitting here with my neighbor. But in addition to that,
and we're not going to talk about you being a Bears fan either.
Well, we might, yeah, okay. There you go. There goes the referendum.
Yeah.
But all kidding aside, you know, the opportunities that I've had here in Sun Prairie has been absolutely amazing. And I truly feel a part of Sun Prairie. I have a wife, I have 3 kids. My wife, Michelle, works over at the police department. And my 3 children are scattered out through the area, Stephanie, Tyler, and Alex. And basically the 2 things I'm a fire chief, I'm a dad. And that's my life. As I said, 37 years total in the fire service. I've been around for a little while. And I truly here to hopefully I made a difference here over the last 11 years.
Okay. Jackson, how about you? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Jackson Wells. I've been with Sun Prairie Fire for 2.5 years. Very different from Chief's 37 years of experience. Sun Prairie is my first and only department that I've ever been on, and I'm really happy to say there's 0 plans to go anywhere else. My partner and I love this area. We have full plans to stay for as long as we possibly can. I love my job. He loves working for Epic. But yeah, we love this area. We love to be part of this community, and there's 0 plans to go anywhere else.
Why did you decide to go into this line of work?
Sure. In my previous life, I worked in large animal veterinary medicine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And I love the medical side. And at first I was looking at being a paramedic when I was starting to change careers. Talked to a few guys, and fire seemed way more up my alley.
Okay. All right, great. For those that are tuned into the program that may not be familiar with the fire department, let's just give them a brief nickel tour of the department.
All right, well, that's pretty easy for me. You know, I've had fire now for 11 years. I've only had EMS for 2.
Right.
So I took over as the EMS chief about 2.5 years ago. It's been a great adventure for me because we started out as a fire corporation. Okay, I ran the fire corporation for my first 8.5 years here. And then we moved over to the city, which was a big move. But I think I'd be extremely remiss if I didn't talk about the corporation and what kind of a legacy that has made for our city. It's absolutely amazing to sit here and think about some of the older folks who were firefighters here because they did it here for nothing, okay? And they only did it for the love of job. The Joe Selsners and the Arnie Clevens, these are gentlemen who helped build this organization. And it was really hard for them when I came here, because when I came here, the organization was definitely shifting to the area where it needed to be more of a full-time fire department, where we needed to staff the department 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When I first got here, the only staffing that we had was daytime staffing. There was no overnight staffing. Station 1 is the only station that we worked out of. And
That's the one downtown.
that's the one down in Bristol in Maine.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's what I walked into. We had 8 full-time people who covered daytime shifts. And there was some staffing at night with part-time personnel, but it wasn't to the level of where it is right now. It's an amazing, it was an amazing group of guys that I've came in, and there's still about 20 and 25 to 25 people left from the former corporation who are still working with us as paid on premise firefighters. That's a name I want to make sure that we understand.
Yeah,
paid
we're
on
going to
premise.
talk about that.
And so I came in here, and for the first few years worked with that group and started building that group and started building into the fire prevention program and started trying to move the organization. As the city grew, the fire department had to grow, and that was my responsibility. It was difficult to honestly win the trust of a lot of the people up here, but I feel personally that I did a good job in advancing the organization incrementally. And that's another thing I want to point out, incremental growth, because that's the only way you can build a fire department. Plus, firefighters hate change, period. So, moving the clock forward, coming here, started adding more firefighters, and we got a grant to open up our Station 2, which correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we opened up Station 2 in about 2019. And
that's the West Side building.
Yeah, which is the West Side building.
Yeah.
And we got a grant, a FEMA grant, to hire the staffing, which covered 75% of the pay for those folks for the first 3 years. So it was a great opportunity for the city because the West Side was advancing and growing. Because when I came here, the West Side, 90% of it was farm fields. And a lot of people who are here today don't recognize that.
Right.
But it was very, very important to build staffing. So we incrementally built staffing. First, we started staffing Station 1, 24 hours a day. And then when we got the grant, we only staffed Station 2 with daytime staffing. We were advanced into the years a little bit more, and then we were able to build the staffing up through paid on-premise personnel to staff both stations 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are an all hazards department. Everybody thinks it's just fires. No, it's not. Fire and EMS is very, very active, very, very involved. The fire department is the boots on the ground when it comes to structure fires, fire alarms at buildings, extrication, technical rescue, hazardous material, water rescue, and all of these other assets, and I don't want to forget auto accidents. The fire side takes care of all those issues. EMS, we're advanced 2-person paramedic unit. We have 4 units that run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Very, very proud of my paramedics for what they do. They are ALS providers, and none of our paramedics are supplemented with anything less than a paramedic. So if a ambulance arrives at your house, there's 2 fully educated paramedics on that rig. Very proud of that group. The third thing that we do is fire prevention. Ryan Welsh is our lead fire inspector over there, and a lot of help from Ed Ruckerill and Scott Miller to run that office. Those folks invest into the fire prevention of the city all of the inspections. And our crews do over 3,500 inspections a year. And it's very, very important for us, especially when it comes to 2% money, which is something we'll talk about later, to do those inspections, because we don't get our 2% money if it's not for doing our inspections. And within the Fire Prevention Bureau is community risk reduction. Those are the people who are educating our city, our kids. We're in the schools every day in October. We hit every school, including the privates, in the city and in the towns. And we go in there and educate them. All of our programs, car seats, we put in probably 200 to 300 car seats in a year, which is just an actual unmeasurable safety thing that we do. But I guarantee you, it saves lives. That through the Community Risk Reduction program, we also host our Citizens Fire Academy and all of the other educational pieces, our open house, and all of those cool things that we do for the public runs through there. And then the last leg of our department is our emergency management side, which I am the emergency manager for the city, and that's the all hazard issue if we have a major event like we did in 2018 in the downtown area. But unfortunately, this world is dealing with a lot of active threats and a lot of other issues. So those high scale issues, like let's just take, for instance, the weather that we're going through right now. If something happens where all of a sudden an apartment doesn't have heat or there's a problem there, that's something that we might have to evacuate people from buildings and start allocating resources, and that those resources work through others in Dane County to bring help into the city.
Okay.
So those are the four main things that we do.
So as I mentioned at the start of the program, we've got the referendum question on April 7th. It's going to ask for an increase in the city's annual property tax levy. That'll start in 2027 if it's approved. And it would allow for an increase of 2 firefighters for the Sun Prairie Fire Department. Let's start this discussion by talking about current staffing at the department. There's full-time firefighters, and then, as you mentioned, there's paid on-premise part-time volunteer firefighters.
Correct.
All right, so what are the numbers and what's the difference between the two?
Okay, well, first
Besides
of all,
one being full-time, one part-time,
absolutely,
right?
and I'm going to let Jackson talk about that one, but I'll fill you in
Okay.
on the numbers. So we have 17 full-time shift personnel on the fire side, okay? And we have 1 division chief of fire prevention, and we have 1 community risk reduction officer. We have 1 deputy chief and 1 fire chief. So totally, we have 20 sworn personnel, 2 admin personnel, and the community risk reduction officer, who's a civilian position.
All full-time.
Yeah, so that is our full-time staff. We have about 50 to 60 paid on-premise personnel. I'll be honest with you, it depends on what day of the week.
Sure.
Like, a perfect example, Madison just hired 5 of my personnel on their last hiring list about a month ago. So that literally took away 5 part-time people who are now currently full-time at Madison. So we went from 60 to 55 very quickly. And I know later we're going to talk about how I replace those people, but that's a big hit for us right away. So as I said, 50 to 60 people, and he's going to speak a little bit. And one of the main reasons why I brought Jackson here is he was a paid on-premise firefighter, and now he is full-time.
Okay. So you're full-time now. Walk us, and you were paid on premise. Give us an understanding of what the difference is between the 2 positions.
Yeah, sure. I'll actually backtrack a little and say how we're similar.
Okay.
That might help paint the picture
Sure.
better. So every part-time and full-time guy, they carry at least Fire 1 and Fire 2, which means we're all fully qualified to respond to a fire.
That's like a certification?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We've all gone through a fire academy or program somewhere, so we are all highly qualified to respond to fires. A handful of part-time guys also have some EMS experience. Most full-time guys do have EMT, like me. But what we're kind of looking at with differences is, first of all, scheduling. Full-time guys work on average a 48-hour week. Part-time usually lands around 24 hours per week. There's a little bit of difference there. But in terms of responsibilities, we all have the same expectation that we're all going to be mopping the floors together. We're all going to be washing trucks together. That's not just something that's get pushed on to one group or another. We're very cohesive in that way. I would say kind of like the biggest difference is full-time is expected to do things like we're doing right now, speaking on camera. And really it's kind of an unwritten rule that full-time guys are looking to advance the department. Rather than just doing the day-to-day of going to calls and keeping the station orderly, full-time guys, we usually have some kind of project in the works that's going to grow and expand the department. Good example with me was I mentioned my background in animal medicine. So I've been training up our department on large animal rescue, something that we didn't really have any kind of response for before, besides we'll figure it out when we get there. But now we're developing, okay, here's ways that we could actually respond to, say, a semi-truck flips over on I-90 with, say, 10 head of cattle on it. Here's what we're going to do about it. So that's just one example. But yeah, circling back, full-time, they're doing the same day-to-day as part-time, but they have, almost all of us have some kind of way that we're trying to develop the department forward.
Walk us through the typical day for a full-time firefighter.
Sure. Well, our full-time day and part-time day is pretty similar, I will be honest. Shift starts at 6 a.m., but it's not uncommon for most of us to get there at 5:15, 5:30 in the morning. We immediately start checking out our trucks. And what I mean by that is we are looking at every piece of equipment that's on that apparatus. Big things like making sure the truck is full of water. It sounds basic.
And this is something you do every day, right?
Every day,
yeah.
Yep, every day at 6 a.m. Big things like checking to make sure the truck is fueled up, has water in it, the pump is working, the hose lines are ready to go, to little things like opening up our EMS bags and making sure that the medications we carry, none of them have expired. That ensures that we are ready for virtually anything that comm center could put in our way. And like I was alluding to, this is a task that both full-time guys and part-time guys, because you can imagine those trucks carry a lot of equipment, and we usually have 2, if not 3 trucks at any given station. So it's a bit of a process to check out all those minute details together.
And they also make sure that all the tools are on the vehicle and properly placed, because each tool goes in a specific area of the engine.
Yeah, and it's very easy, late night call, the axe might get set somewhere that it shouldn't have. We'll just fix that real quick. Then once we're positive that the trucks are ready to go, our gear is ready to rock and roll, we usually shift into a group workout in the morning. We're super fortunate that both stations have a really well-equipped weight room. We take full advantage of that on every shift. Workouts are voluntary, I need to say, but everybody participates in them for sure. This ranges from your traditional weightlifting to cardio sessions to getting into gear and going up and down stairs. We usually strive for at least an hour of physical fitness every day. Once that's done, we'll hop on the trucks and get some inspections done. Chief was alluding to how many thousands of inspections?
About 3,500 a year.
So we got to do them every shift. There's really no skipping them unless it's a cold weather day or we're just slammed with public education events. Odds are we're going to be going out and inspecting buildings for, I would say, at least 2 hours in the morning is usually.
That is an amazing number of inspections for 1 year.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, and we divvy it up equally between all the shifts. But you got to bear in mind, a simple, or I shouldn't say simple, but a smaller business, say in the downtown area, that won't take so long. That's still, that inspection might take us 10, 15 minutes. Whereas let's look at Woodman's. That's going to take us all day.
Sure.
So when we say 3,500 inspections, they're not all quick in and out. They can be pretty complex for just one inspection. But what's fantastic about doing inspections, why we actually really like doing them, is when we go out to inspect a building, we're not going out with the intention of handing out citations left and right. Most of the issues that we see, we worked with the building owner to fix them on site. A good example would be a blocked exit, emergency exit. we're not just going to write a citation and walk away. We're going to flag down the owner and say, hey, we've got 4 guys here. Let's help move these boxes, shift that, probably broken fridge. Let's find a better spot for that. And let's get this fixed for you rather than making it a headache for you. The second big benefit is that we start to learn the layouts of all these buildings. If we have a larger structure that is on fire and we walk in there, visibility is probably going to be 0. Probably wouldn't be able to see your hand in front of your face. But if my crew has inspected that building in the past, we at least have a rough idea as to where things are, which means we're going to put out that fire all the faster. Continuing on with our day, is that what the question we were on? Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there. We'll then return, have lunch together. It's important to us that we all eat meals together. Lunch and dinner is always done as a crew. We'll grab a quick bite to eat. Then after that, we'll shift into afternoon training. We train every single shift. Weather doesn't matter. Even if it's super cold outside, we'll find something to do indoors. Training varies pretty drastically. When we hire on all these new guys, like Chief was saying, we tend to focus on training them up on like the true foundational skills of firefighting. So basic things like setting up a fire hydrant, putting up a ladder, forcing open a door, how a radio works. We want to make sure those guys are super comfortable when they're first coming on to Sun Prairie to do any kind of fire task that they need to do. As the year progresses and our new guys are trained up, we'll start making things more complex, whether that's getting a truck set up for drafting operations, a more complicated rescue drill. The point is we really tailor our training to the guys that we have here to maximize the time that we have while we are training. Then once afternoon training is done, we'll usually shift into some office hours. If guys need to continue education for EMS certs or officer certs, they're more than welcome. Reports, yeah, that's usually when I QA reports. Then before you know it, it's dinner time. We all cook dinner together, and then maybe if it's a slow evening, we'll get to watch a movie together and then hit the hay.
When I was much younger, the mindset was that people thought, fire department firefighters are sitting in recliners waiting for that call to come in.
Definitely not
But
here.
and there might be some that are still thinking that. But as you have said, there's a lot more going on. The job is a lot more involved.
Right, and notice when I was kind of giving that rough outline of a day, I never mentioned calls coming in.
Sure, yeah.
So you got to mix in probably 5 or 6 calls as well that are going to have to keep your day pretty fluid, and things might get pushed back that will book out your day very quickly.
Yeah, 2 little quick things if I could throw in. They also meet every morning to discuss their day and what the plans are, and that brings everybody together. And the fire service, we're all like family, and that's truly what it's about. And then you said about in the recliners, not until after 5. That's for darn sure. But and then the other thing is they're balancing probably about 10 calls a day with that. And that's one of the big struggles that we have, because they're out doing an inspection. They get there, say they go to an apartment building, and one guy's got this building, and 2 guys got this building, and then a call comes in, it gets interrupted. Now they have to go to the call, and then they have to come back and get to the inspection. Puts a lot of windshield time and everything else on the vehicles. But the things that they're accomplishing is absolutely amazing, because the majority of the inspections are done by the shift personnel.
So if the referendum is approved, that'll give you 2 more firefighters, full-time firefighters. You will go from 17 to 19?
Yes,
that
sir.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah, shift fire. I'm sorry, 18 shift firefighters, and one of the firefighters, I think this is what you're getting at, will be going into the bureau as a firefighter, fire inspector.
Okay, so one of the 2 is going to be involved with fire inspections.
Right. Currently, we have 6 people on, I believe it's A, 6 people on B, and 5 people on C. Our goal is to even out that number to start cutting down on the recruitment issues with the paid on premise. Because, and you can do the math, we have to hire back 7 paid on premise shifts a day, because shifts are 12 hours each. So the average of 7 shifts per day are covered by our paid on premise personnel, which presents an absolute nightmare when it comes to scheduling. My battalion chief, who does the scheduling, probably spends 2 to 3 hours every day just to make sure our scheduling of paid on-premise personnel are up to par. So do that seven times 365, it's got to be around 2,500 shifts that we have to schedule a year with our paid on-premise personnel.
Does the 2 additional firefighters then, again, if the referendum is approved, get you up to what is considered to be full strength?
Oh no, not even close, because I know you have questions in here a little bit later about our staffing, and I think that's very, very important to talk about. But I think the biggest misconception of what we're asking for in the referendum is, I'm not asking to add crew. The biggest problem that the fire service is facing, this is not Sun Prairie, this is not Dane County, this is not Wisconsin, this is nationally. Currently, we have a generational shift where people, young men, young women, millennials, Gen Zs, whatever, they have no interest in our job. Because today's youth, they don't want to work weekends and they don't want to work evenings. That doesn't make them better or worse, it just makes them different. We used to have 300 people on average apply for one job in the fire service. Now it's about 25 applying for one job. So it makes it kind of slim pickings for us. But 45% of our current staffing is being done by part-time personnel. As we continue to look into the future and we start losing that baseline of the young men and, I shouldn't say young men and women, the older crews on the fire department, as they start moving out, and currently that older 20 to 25 people who came from the corporation help cover our nighttime staffing. The younger people who are coming out of the academy are covering our daytime staffing. But that's a continuous revolving door because they're there. The nighttime people, they have jobs. They work at the banks, they work at the offices and the car dealers and doing the different things that they do. And they're there to serve the community. The younger men and women that come, they're looking for a career. And as soon as we lose those top full-time people, we're going to struggle to replace the value that they bring. We will never not rely on paid on-call staffing, but it is my opinion if we don't up staffing to what we need, and to me the perfect staffing is 11 people per shift, that would mean 33 full-time people.
All full-time.
All full-time. And we don't have to get there now. It's incremental. We don't need that kind of change because currently that 45% of staffing that we use to staff the night and daytime 7 shifts average per day, that saves the city currently $2 million plus a year. That's only salary. I'm talking salary. I'm not talking school. I'm not talking gear. I'm not talking any of those other things. $2 million a year. The fiscal responsibility of the fire department has always been amazing. We saved a lot of money with the corporation, but a lot of people don't know. Why aren't we a corporation anymore? Because that was a lot cheaper. It is not sustainable because you can't find the people to work for that. And the reason why we had to come from the corporation and jump into the municipality is because the current people working for me were making $18.50 to $19 an hour. I can point over to Madison, and there's at least 15 people over there full-time and from my organization who are now working at Madison because of the pay, the benefits, and everything else. It took us to go into the city of Sun Prairie to become a full-time fire department to be able to maintain people. That's why Jackson made that comment, I'm not going anywhere. Every person that I had full-time on my department every year were going over and applying at Madison because of the pay and the benefits. And you can't blame them for that. They have families, they have, so it was a struggle keeping staff. So that's why we have this issue. It's because of the generational switch. And if we don't start cutting into those 45 people, if we don't start moving the needle on our full-time people, we're going to run into a problem.
Moving the needle from part-time to full-time?
Yeah, and never all
Because the
full-time.
question may be asked, Chief, by some who haven't decided yet how to vote on this. Well, why not just hire more part-time people, more paid on-premise people?
Going back into that generational shift,
Yeah.
the millennials, the Gen Zs, they don't want the job. We are we are bringing in perfect example. We recruited 9 people in our last recruitment process. Already 5 of them are gone.
And you're talking about paid on-premise people.
Yeah, so it's unfortunately, Steve, it's not sustainable. You know, I can continue to bring on the younger folks. They're not covering those nighttime shifts. It's the Roger Turnos, the Armandos, the Bill Sullivans, the Thane Westemeyers. They're covering the nighttime shifts. The daytime is all the younger people, and it's a revolving door. So we're going to have retirements of this group, and we're going to continue the revolving door of this group. It's not sustainable.
Let's talk about calls. What has been the trend in call volume for the fire department?
That's a great question, because a lot of people have concerns about us not serving other communities anymore.
But that's changed. Your coverage area did change as of the first of the year, right?
It actually went down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons for that. We were covering Marshall with an ambulance, and people need to understand, not fire, ambulance.
Okay.
We were covering Marshall with an ambulance. We were averaging 1.5 calls a day running out of that station as opposed to 8 or 9, 10 running out of the main station, and 7, 8 running out of Station 2. It cost $1.3 million to staff that ambulance for 1.5 calls. And, you know, the thought process of that ambulance out there is it would back up the ambulances that were here. It's too far of a distance. That was a great thought moving into the future to include consolidation and regionalization. The problem was that ambulance was too far. I could get a Madison ambulance in for somebody having a heart attack quicker, and that mutual aid response that we have is excellent, but Madison doesn't want us counting on us all the time. In fact, there's also been a shift there that we are now covering Madison as much, and that's the design of the mutual aid program. But if you truly go back to it, it would have cost the residents of Sun Prairie to maintain that ambulance there. Even though revenue comes back from that, if we would have stayed out there over the next few years, it would have cost us, in my opinion, I don't have the exact numbers, somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 a year, the residents of Sun Prairie. That's why I moved that ambulance into Station 2. Now we have 2 running out of Station 2, 2 running out of Station 1, and that's how we respond. As far as fire, we've been serving the town of Sun Prairie and the town of Bristol since I've gotten here, years well before that, and we used to serve the town of Burke. So everybody's expecting the call volumes to go down, but we made up the numbers between the call of Burke within a matter of 1 year. The EMS side has traditionally raised in call volume somewhere between 300 and 500 calls per year. So we're losing Marshall, but remember, with losing Marshall, we still kept the town of Sun Prairie that was part of the Marshall program, because we've been serving them with fire. We now serve them completely with EMS because they left the Marshall EMS system. So a big percentage of the calls that were going to Marshall were the town of Sun Prairie calls. Now we're handling those communities ourselves. And then the shift in the fire, it was somewhere between 100 to 300 calls per year. We would go up every year. So
that would be the increase.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, within a year to 2 years, we will have the call volume in Sun Prairie that will make up for the call volume in Marshall. And we'll be improving response times here in Sun Prairie, and we'll be able to allocate. Perfect example, this morning, at 8 o'clock this morning, we had about 4 calls come in at the same time. Every one of the ambulances were out. If I needed another ambulance, I would have had to call mutual aid from Marshall, but we were fortunate. We had a fire call at the same time. We were able to do that.
One thing that we see here in Sun Prairie, Chief, is that, and you and I have talked about this outside, is when there is a EMS call for a medical situation.
Yes.
A fire truck goes along and accompanies that ambulance. Now, not every community does that. I don't think.
Right. Well, here's
what you can tell me I'm wrong, but Why is that done here in Sun
Here's
Prairie?
how I can answer that.
Sure.
The communities that don't send a fire engine, you know why? Because they don't have the personnel and they don't have the staffing. Before I came here, we only went to echo level calls. So interesting, it's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and echo calls. All right, we switched that because now I have EMTs on my trucks. I have EMTs and EMRs. We have fully trained medical people. So here's the issue. This morning, we have that 4 ambulance calls. If the 5th one comes in, a fire engine shows up with EMS staff on it, and they can start treatment on the patient and do the basic to medium level care on that patient before the ambulance gets there. There could be an ambulance in transition from station 2 or station 1, and the engine will beat the ambulance of that call and start providing service. Here's the other benefit to the engine going, because I know this is a big question, and it is on the FAQs, it will be on the FAQs with the city. But the fire engine gets there, and the EMS is already there. They get in and start doing the basic life support, so the paramedics could do the advanced life support.
Okay.
So what that does is an on-time 20-minute call can be cut down to 15 minutes, and we can get that person to the hospital quicker. In addition, the lifting and all of what we want to call the mule work is done by the firefighters, so the paramedics can put their expertise to their advanced life care into that patient. Yes, it puts mileage on the rigs, but it increases response time, and it also fixes turnout time. So we call it reflex time. So reflex time is the time the ambulance responds to the call and the time that it goes back into service. We're probably relieving that by 15 minutes. And remember, we lost a hospital here in Sun Prairie that provided emergency
The
care,
emergency
which
place,
added 15 to 20 minutes for a Bravo level call for them to get back into service. If they have to take the patient downtown, you're going to add an extra hour in some cases to that call if they have to go all the way downtown with an ALS patient.
If the referendum's approved and you're able to hire these 2 additional firefighters, what's the environment right now as far as recruiting and hiring new people? You've already alluded to the fact that it's pretty competitive out there because you're competing with other fire departments like Madison for that. How would you describe the current environment for recruiting and hiring?
There's a lot of firefighters like Jackson and Alec who got hired at the same time with him, and these are just amazing young men. And I have literally 25 to 30 paid on-premise firefighters who want to be first in line at Sun Prairie to get that next job. 2 reasons. Number 1, we've got a great culture. We've got great morale. We work well together. We come in, and I'm telling you, they don't turn their key in the morning and say, oh, darn, there's another 20. They want to get to work, and they want to come to work, and they want to be with their partners in work. So this is a very inviting atmosphere for people to come to. But the problem that I have is I'm losing my paid on call left and right to La Crosse, Green Bay, Milwaukee. I can honestly tell you within the last year, we've had at least a dozen of our paid on call recruited to full-time jobs. And that's a great thing. We're providing opportunities for young men. We're bringing them in, we're training. They're paying us back by doing shifts. We're paying them back by giving them the opportunity to go sell their knowledge that they got from Sun Prairie somewhere else. And here's the thing. You know, this is a direct quote from the former chief of Madison. He said, Garrison, he said, you keep training them the way you're training them, and I'm going to keep on taking them. And I'll tell you what, our working relationship with Madison is absolutely unbelievable. We're just a great bunch of folks. But they've got their hands tied in their community just like we've got our hands tied here. But if I need another engine with 4 people on it, they'll send it to me in a heartbeat. If they have a fire in an unincorporated area, Jackson and 3 other people will be there with them fighting fire in their community. So it's a great place to work, and there's still a lot of people who want to do it full-time, just not enough people who want to do it part-time. That's the problem that we're facing.
Well, let's talk about that, because another part of the referendum is that if it's approved, it will allow for an increase in wages for the part-time volunteers.
Sure.
Tell us more about that. Why, and you've talked about why that is happening and why there's a need for that. What are we looking at? And I mean, where's the pay now, and what is this going to increase to?
Steve, this whole issue is, it's going to amaze you. Currently, my part-time firefighters, the ones who jump into the back seat of the rigs, they make $12.50 an hour for covering a 12-hour shift. Okay?
Wow.
Our driver operators, the people who are in charge of the rig and driving the rig, are getting paid $17 an hour. Okay? Our officers, the people like the Bill Sullivans and the Thane Westemeyers, they're making like $20 an hour to be in charge of 3 people on an engine going into a fire, and the lives of 3 young men or women are in their hands, and they're getting paid $20 an hour. Let me tell you the raise that we're asking for these people.
Sure.
The firefighters that are making $12.50 an hour are going to go up to $13.60 an hour. You can make that as a lifeguard. You can make that working at a big
that's
box
not
store.
huge.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. The drivers that are making $16.66 an hour are going up 44 cents to $17 an hour. The officers are going from $20 an hour to $20.25. The inspectors are going from $16.66 an hour to $17. And now that we're in the municipality, and this is a difference from before, when our part-time and paid-on-call personnel, when we were the corporation, came in for training, they did it for free. Because now it's a municipal program, you can't do that. You're liable for people in gear. You're liable for people in your building. They make $8 an hour training. $8 an hour to train in the fire service. We're talking about people that are running into fires. We're talking about people that are running into situations where a person might be in their house having a heart attack. That's what they're making to do their job. And you know what? I will always be able to find some people to do that, but not enough to cover 45% of our staffing.
These are people that have other jobs,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Jackson can speak to this. Jackson, when you were working here as a paid-on-call, what else did you do?
I worked for an advertising agency.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, full time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was clocking about 90 hours a week when I was doing that.
And when you came here at that time, you were probably only covering the nighttime shifts. But we're very fortunate, and this is another interesting thing that people have to understand. A lot of the young men and women who are coming out of the different programs that we have, the Next Generation program and the Fire Academy. When they come to our department, one of the things they do to make a living is they work a day shift with us, and then they probably go work a night shift with Fitchburg or one of the other departments that have similar staffing models than us. We, I believe, are, if not the lowest, one of the lowest paying departments in the area for paid on call. So if Fitchburg and Sun Prairie are calling and you make $1 or $2 or whatever more than that department, where are you going? And I think most of them would like to come to Sun Prairie. Nothing against Fitchburg because it's a great fire department. But they're going to choose to go to the higher dollar because they have to pay their rent, they have to pay car insurance. You know, that's why we're fortunate to get a lot of those young men and women who want to work those day shifts. We have to staff, going back to it, this is, you know, numbers just off the top of my head, but that's 3.5 slots for the daytime shifts that we're covering, doing that. So it's going really well right now. But if you continue to look into the future of the generational shift, it's going to be an issue. And we spend most of our day, it's not unusual for my deputy chief, who's supposed to be doing high-level staffs, to handle a sick call and have to find 2 people to cover that sick call. It takes a lot of time out of our day where we need to be productive in the other areas that we work.
Let's talk about what happens with the fire department if this referendum is not approved. What's going to be the impact?
I'm not going to, this is not a life or death issue. But 5 to 10 years down the road, we're kicking the can down the road. If we continue to kick this can down the road, all of a sudden it's going to pop up and the city's going to be told, you need 6 firefighters and you need them now. I've been educating the city on where we need to go. We need to start looking at a 3rd station, something you probably have heard me talk about.
Sure.
And I've been talking about that since we get there. But I don't want to get to the point where 4 to 5 years down the road, somebody looks at me and says, Chief, where were you at on this? I'm trying to get ahead of this game by incrementally hiring personnel. You think about our bureau, 3,500 inspections a year, okay? I need somebody in that bureau full-time that can start taking the pressure off of the shifts. And honestly, we're going to need another one somewhere down the line. But I need a full-time person in that bureau to start taking some of the pressure off of Ryan as we continue to grow and as buildings get older. Inspections will get more difficult. I need another person to help me think about this, that if one new firefighter comes in, whatever 365 times 2, that's how many numbers I can not recruit from. Another big problem that we're having is that our part-time people are working so much, they're starting to qualify for benefits because I don't have enough paid on call to actually fill all of those numbers. They're starting to hit benefits and also starting to get into WRS, which again,
because of the hours that they're working?
More money.
Yeah.
Because they're exhausting the hours. The latest young man that is number 1 on our hiring list, he had to quit working in October of last year because he'd already met the maximum hours. And now we're getting to the point where if we don't allow him to go over, we won't have the personnel to do it. So is it doom or gloom? No. If we don't get another firefighter in the next 2, 3, 4 years, will it be a problem? But then the fire chief, if there's a new fire chief coming in, he's going to walk in and say, I don't know why the fire chief didn't build up more, because we're going to need 5, 6 firefighters all of a sudden to make up for our full-time staffing. And what if we shift to a 3rd station? We have the EMS capability to move to the 3rd station, but we don't have fire. Our staffing, minimum staffing is 8 people a day on the fire trucks in response. That means 1 battalion chief with 3 people in the engine and 4 people in the truck. Honestly, if you follow the true...
Are you able to meet those numbers at this
yes,
point?
we meet those every day.
Okay.
We have never gone understaffed. And if somebody goes home in the middle of the day, John and I might jump in the battalion officer jump in, but we get people right away. We're very good at it. And our people are amazing. And one thing I want to assure you is that we'll continue to use that paid on call staffing. But if I have to say one thing, I guarantee you this, you can't find a fire department in the state that has more fiscal responsibility than ours. And I will challenge anybody to come in and look at what we do, come visit with me like all the alders do. I've got backing of all of the alders in the direction of where we want to go. And I spend time informing them of what we need to do. But our pay for our firefighters is middle of the road, but nobody's complaining. We have an amazing department, but if we don't start incrementally building now, we're going to have a problem. And this was known coming into the city environment, but I educated the alders of what's going to be needed in the future. And at some day, we may be to the point where we only have enough part-time people to cover the sick times and the days off and the vacations.
I want to talk about something that you alluded to at the start of the program when we were talking about the number of fire inspections being done. That is something that brings in a certain amount of revenue for the fire department, correct?
So all of the money that we get from the 2% covers all of our personnel in the Bureau. Last year, we got almost $250,000, $250,000. If we don't meet our inspection quotas, they can garnish a bit of that, they can garnish the whole thing. And we have to keep up our inspection quotas. Call that revenue? I do, because that's $250,000 that offsets our budget every year and pays for Ryan, it pays for Natalie, and it pays for my part-time inspection, and it pays for Ed, my plan reviewer.
Is this state funding that?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And every year, they send me an informational chart to me and the clerk.
And you have to meet a certain
and we have
number of inspections to get to that point.
Yep. They ask, how many inspections did you do this year? How many re-inspections did you do this
Okay.
year? And what was your call volume? And how many training hours? And every couple of years, they literally send somebody in to audit the department.
So it's important not only from a safety standpoint, because you want to make sure that
Correct.
every building that you inspect in the community is up to where it needs to be.
Correct.
But it also brings in revenue for the
Absolutely.
fire department,
Yep.
depending on the
$250,000
number
a
of inspections that are done.
Yes, sir.
All right. I want to, in the time that we have left, I just also want to talk about a program. I know you've talked about this at Police and Fire Commission meetings. It's something that you use to help with recruiting, and it involves high school students. It's called the Next Gen program. Briefly, what is that about?
Well, that's my baby. The Next Gen program is something that's absolutely amazing. And here's what I can tell you. It started in Sun Prairie. Okay? And what it is we get into our high schools and we start recruiting young men and women there that during their junior and senior year, they can go to Madison College and they can start their firefighter program or their EMR program. And they can literally, by the time they get from high school, done with high school, they can get their certificate so they can come and work at a fire department. They can earn their Fire 1 and Fire 2. So once they turn 18, they can get that certificate and they can go work for another community. And it's just an amazing program that started here in Sun Prairie. And I can't say more about it because we are continuously recruiting. See, this started in Sun Prairie and now it's all through the whole state in the technical college programs. And it's funded by the high school and the college. And once these young men, and it has really served us well in bringing people to our community. But in addition to that, it's really helped us to diversify the fire department. And it's nothing but more than an amazing opportunity when you can take a young man or a young woman in high school and teach them something that is going to give them a career for the rest of their lives. And we've got, I want to say, 3 people on our current roster that came right from
Really?
our full-time roster
Okay.
that came from that program. And almost every one of them that started in Sun Prairie has came and been a paid-on-call at Sun Prairie, and a lot of them have moved on to other areas.
Because Jackson, you're a full-time firefighter. If we have these new positions that are approved through the approval of the referendum, somebody is hired, they don't just start right away in the fire station, do they? There's probably some training they have to go through beforehand, or what?
Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, ever since I've been on the department, every full-time hire we've made is pulled from, they were part-time.
They were part-time. So
At Sun
yeah,
Prairie.
it's kind of a tough question for him to answer because until we became the municipality, the Police and Fire Commission approved all of the former lists from the corporation. So we hire off of those lists.
Okay.
So now, 2 of the lists are expiring. The lieutenant's list and the firefighter list will expire at the end of April. So we will be starting a new list, and this is the first list that will actually go outside of our internal program. But as I said, if you take a look at our paid on call, I guarantee you there's about 30 to 40 young men and women who want that job. And
Are they talking to you, Jackson, about that?
Yes.
They are. So that's the pool that you would
Yeah, that's
probably
the pool.
draw from.
So every hire, so this will be the last hire from the corporation list. The next
Okay.
hires after the ones that we will approve, hopefully, next month, will move forward.
Boy, there's so much more we could talk about that we didn't cover, unfortunately, because of time. But I do want to mention there are a series of informational meetings that are going to be coming up. If people want to know when and where they are, there's one for each aldermanic district. There's 2 citywide ones. Chief, there's one specifically for public safety. It's the Public Safety Town Hall. This is Monday, March 16th at Station Number 2, the fire department there.
Correct.
What's going to be happening at that?
Well,
meeting?
I'm glad you said that because we just got the list of all the town halls. And each district is going to have a town hall. We're going to have a citywide town hall. Then we're going to have a virtual, and then we're going to have a public safety. And basically, the public safety will be the kind of town hall where the residents can come into the fire station and pick our brains and ask us any of the questions, hopefully similar to the ones that you've asked. I've seen a lot of questions on Facebook that I would sure love to answer, but I got to be really, really careful there because I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of misconceptions
Sure.
of the organization, how we operate. I would love to share with everybody the revenues that not only that we bring in through the 2%, but I would love to talk about the revenues that we've recently brought in for EMS. A perfect example is there's a new program called GMNT where we're trying to recover some of the money and some of the losses through Medicaid and Medicare because they dictate their prices on ambulance calls. And for last year, in 2025, we picked up another 300, I believe it was, don't quote me exactly on the numbers, another $350,000 of reimbursement off there. A lot of people don't know that currently our ambulance service, and I don't think it's going to change much in money, it brings in $2.5 million worth of revenue for EMS. And that covers a lot of the budget. So we're doing great things out there. And there's another grant that we have where we pull in another $160,000 a year for EMS for training and equipment and different things. So I think it's a great opportunity for people to come in and learn more about the fire department. Because I'll also be honest with you, Steve, a lot of people out there think we're still a volunteer department.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a volunteer department anymore. Everybody is paid.
Okay. The Public Safety Town Hall is Monday, March 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the West Side Building, Station Number 2. For those that want to know more about the other town halls, go to the City of Sun Prairie website. They've got a link you can click on. You can get more information. Chief, we're running out of time, unfortunately. Any final comments or thoughts?
Yeah, my goal is to educate people. I've been in the fire service for 37 years, and fiscal responsibility is extremely important to me. I'm a resident here also, and I want to be transparent about everything we do. I know it's a struggle and people's taxes will go up, but if we don't work on this problem, if we don't continue to change to work with the generational shift, we're not changing the generations. There's more of them than there are of us. We're not going to change that. And I don't want to because I look at our youth and I'm like, you know what, they don't want jobs like this, but they spend more time with their kids and with their spouses, and you know, their mental health issues in the fire service are crazy, and firefighters are taking and paramedics are taking those kind of problems home. It's very difficult. I'm not trying to pull on the heartstrings here, but what I'm telling you is if we don't start incrementally building staffing now, our residents of Sun Prairie 5, 6 years down the road are going to take a big hit somewhere. Call volume will continue to rise. The amount of calls that we lost in Marshall will gain over the next couple of years.
Right.
We just had a Wisconsin policy did a study of the fire department, and it's online. Anybody can go onto the Wisconsin policy study, and they're saying we're going to need another ambulance in 4 or 5 years. I'm trying to avoid that because we've got enough ambulances right now to move, but if we add another ambulance, we will need another station because our living quarters and everything is built. But another station will improve response times. So there's a lot out there that people have to digest, but it's either pay a little bit now or down the road, whoever is here is really going to get hit.
Well, I want to thank my guests for being here and doing this program, Fire EMS Chief Chris Garrison and Firefighter EMT Jackson Wells. Gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
And we thank you.
Thank you.
The purpose of this program was to educate voters on the upcoming referendum and its impact on public safety here in Sun Prairie, and I hope that we were able to do that. Again, you can go to the City of Sun Prairie website to get more information, go to the town halls, ask questions. And before we part here, I want to thank John Schmidt and Colin Lessig of the Sun Prairie Media Center for producing this program. I'm Steve Sabatke. Thanks for tuning in, and please vote on Tuesday, April 7th.